Hello everyone and welcome back to another math video. Today we're going to be looking at how do you read and measure using a ruler or a tape measure, anything like that. Just a reminder that this is the full version lesson of this video. If you'd like a shorter version where we just sort of go through the highlights, I will link that in the description below. Okay, so rulers, tape measures, very, very important, right? I put this picture up here because I wanted us to be reminded that certainly in construction, right? You will use tape measures, ruler. You need to know how to measure distances, both big distances, small distances. So super, super important. All right, let's look at how this works. And I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to zoom way in here because we need to look at this. We need to look at this on big screen. Okay, here we go. So the way you look at these is you look between the 0 and the 1, and you need to count how many lines there are, and you do not count the first, you don't count this line here. So this is 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines, 5 lines, 6 lines, 7 lines, 8 lines. All right, so that means that this ruler is split into eighths. So this is 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and 8/8. Now, a couple of things to note here. Number one, some of these fractions can be reduced. Okay, so 2/4 can be reduced to 1/4. 4/8 can be reduced to 1/2. 6/8 can be reduced to 3/4, and 8/8 is just the same as 1, right? That's the 1-inch mark. Okay, and then if you go further on the ruler, right, this is still, let me zoom out a little bit. This is still split into eighths, right? So this is still 1/8, 1/4, so on and so forth. But the way you read this, this is now 1 and 1/4. Okay, 1 and 1/4. All right, let's see how this works. So I've already lined up for us, and notice that it says measure to the nearest inch. All right, so the nearest inch means the nearest, a whole number, no fractions. So in this case, and notice that the ruler does not start at doesn't start at the edge, right? There's a little bit of space there, so you have to line it up correctly. So when you line this up, right, it goes from 0 to 3 inches. And so your answer here is just 3 inches. Fine. All right, here's our cool clock for today, made of pennies, very, very cool. That means that it's time for you to practice what you just learned. Go ahead and pause the video and try and answer these 2 problems that are up on your screen. And when you're ready, unpause the video and we'll check your answers. Okay, now that you've had a chance to work these problems, let's look at them. For number 1, you should have said the answer was 2 inches. Okay, it goes from here to here, so 2 inches. And for number 2, it goes from 0 to 3 inches, so my answer is 3. All right. Now, notice this question is a little bit different. It says measure to the nearest half of an inch. Okay, so let's zoom in again and let's label. So notice also that this one is not, so we said we don't count the first one, but there is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. Reduce, this would be 1/2, and this would just be the 1, which is 3 inches. All right. So the nail goes from here to here. So this would be read as 2 1/2 inches. 2 1/2 inches. Okay. And it said to the nearest half inch. And so your half marks, should make sense, are halfway in between your whole numbers. Okay, it's time for you to practice what you just learned. Go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems on your own. And when you're ready, you can unpause the video and we'll check your solutions. Okay, now that you've had a chance to work these problems, let's check your answers. For number 1, top problem, you should have said that this is 5 and 1/2 inches, 5.5 inches. And for number 2, you should have said it is 3.5 inches, 3.5. Okay, here to here, here to here. All right. Now this one says to the nearest 1/4 of an inch. Another way people might say that is to the nearest 1/4 of an inch, because there's 4 quarters in a dollar, so you say that's a 1/4 of an inch. And so let's do our zoom in here a little bit. So this is split into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 segments. So this is 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and 8/8. Okay. And you can see that the tail fin is sort of landing right here. Let's reduce 6/8 to 3/4. All right. So the way that I read this is that this is 6 and 3/4 of an inch, or 3/4 of an inch, some people might say. Okay. All right, it's time for you to practice what you just learned. Go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems on your own. And when you're ready, you can unpause the video and we'll check your answers. Okay, now that you've worked these problems, let's check your solutions. For the first one, it says to the nearest 1/4 of an inch. So that means we need the 4th markings, right? So in between here and here, which ones are the 4ths? This is 1/4. This is technically 2/4, also 1/2. This is 3/4. All right, and it looks like the spoon is lined up with the 1/4 line. So this is 5 and 1/4 of an inch. And for the bottom one, for the twig, this is lined up on the, let's see, this is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. This is lined up on the 1/4 line, so this was 11 and 1/4 of an inch, 11 and 1/4 of an inch. All right, that is it for today. I hope you all have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.